We're asking one of the nation's largest pharmacy chains to stop firing its employees over their faith. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard, and this is First Liberty Live. Have you downloaded the First Liberty Live app yet? It is a great way to keep track of these conversations. Just go to wherever you download apps and type in First Liberty Live. You can watch them as a video on your phone. You can listen to it like a podcast in your car, put it on your tablet, on your television, whatever you like. Just look for First Liberty Live wherever you download apps. Robyn Strader is a nurse practitioner and a First Liberty client, and we also have Pratt, who is one of our attorneys here, sitting next to her. Hi, Robyn. Hi, Christine.
Hi, how are you?
We want to hear your story today, and before we get to that, first, I want to hear what piqued your interest in becoming a nurse. Why did you decide to be a nurse practitioner? What led you to that as a career choice?
I was in education, teaching pre-professional students, and I was always interested in what they were doing after they left my class, and I knew I was preparing them to help other people, and it just sounded like an interesting career choice for me as well.
So you pursued a career as a nurse practitioner. You also have advanced degrees, though, right? Because you mentioned you were teaching.
I do.
Yeah, such as?
Well, I have a PhD in education, medical physiology.
Okay.
And that's what I was using the degree for.
And the reason I wanted to ask that is when you talk about stuff, you know what you're talking about. You're not just someone who has an opinion about things. You're an actual expert in these areas, and when you speak on these, it's from a depth of knowledge that most of us don't have when you talk about these things. And that's why, as we get into this story, as much as you love medicine, your faith is also just as important, right?
I would say it's probably more important.
Tell me what it means to you.
It means everything. My faith is what guides me in this life, but it's also what's preparing me for the next.
Yeah. Let's talk about why we're having this conversation and why this is a story about religious freedom. You were working for CVS Pharmacy, and you'd been there for years, right?
I wasn't working in the pharmacy. I was working in the Minute Clinic.
I meant them as the company, the CVS
right.
as the company, but you were in the Minute Clinic.
That's
We've
correct.
got a picture of it, I think, on the screen behind you there.
Okay.
Which is part of, but separate from the pharmacy. Am I right about that?
That's correct.
Yeah. So what happens at the Minute Clinic?
Minute Clinic is a retail clinic, and we see patients that walk in or schedule appointment for a various number of acute illnesses.
Yeah. So people come in, they ask you, they say, my head hurts, my stomach's bothering me, whatever. And as a nurse, then, you can offer them some advice and maybe even write a prescription for them. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, CVS, with that, there are certain things that you didn't want to do because of your faith. What are some of those areas, the things that you didn't want to participate in?
It was primarily ordering abortifacients or contraceptives.
Okay, and specifically ones that cross over into the life issue, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and when people hear your story, they always make the assumption you're Catholic. You're not.
No, I'm not Catholic.
Yeah, and so this really is based in both your faith and your knowledge of medicine and how some of these drugs work, right?
Right. I first came to my convictions actually sitting in a physiology class, being taught what happened when contraceptives are given.
Yeah.
And I knew from that lecture that I could never be a part of that.
Okay, and how often did this come up, that people came in and made a request that you personally couldn't fulfill?
Well, the first time, it was actually 2 years before I saw my first patient that asked me for a contraceptive.
Yeah.
And then we began to have a few more clients, but no more than about 5 or 6 a year.
So what happened if someone came in and made a request that you couldn't fulfill? What happened next?
I had a partner who covered the clinic with me, and I could refer them to her. Or there was another CVS clinic that was about 2 miles from us, and I could refer them there as well.
Yeah, and you had what's known as a religious accommodation request in place with CVS, which they granted, right?
That's correct.
What's that process like? What do you do to get that acknowledgement from an employer?
At that time, all I had to do was call the HR department, and there was a person that I talked with. They asked me questions, and then they notified my manager about the decision.
And how many years did that go, about, roughly?
About 6.5.
Okay, so this is a long-standing agreement between you and the pharmacy. Customers seem to be happy, you're happy, employers happy, everything's good. Then something changed. What changed?
the culture at CVS changed, and they decided that they no longer were going to honor their religious exemptions.
Okay, and what did they ask you to do? How did this come about?
My manager came to me and told me that the policy was changing and that they were no longer allowing religious exemptions for anything, and that I would either have to participate in everything that CVS offers or I would be fired.
And what ultimately happened?
I was fired.
Christine, I want to bring you in at this point in the conversation. What does the law say about what happened to Robyn? What does it say should have happened instead of what did happen?
Right. So Title VII of the Civil Rights Act says that you cannot discriminate against someone on the basis of religion, as well as other protected classes like race and sex and things like that.
Yeah.
And the solution to this is you give someone a reasonable accommodation. So what CVS should have done and easily could have done is the handful of times per year that anyone ever walks in asking Robyn for a prescription or administration of contraception, the pill, things like that, then she can refer them, and CVS is okay. It's something that can easily be accommodated, and everyone at the end of the day is okay. Everyone's happy. There's so many minute clinics around. You can just walk in to another minute clinic and still get what you need.
Yeah, and it comes down to when people hear about stories like this, sometimes what they say is, and this is a hard thing to ask, but they'll say, well, you chose the job, so you have to do what they say. Is that an appropriate response? What would you say back to them?
So right now, CVS's position is that you can't be a nurse practitioner and be a pro-life Christian. If the way that you understand your faith to compel you to protect life, sorry, you just can't be a doctor. You can't be a nurse. That goes way too far. And in Robyn's specific situation, the thing about the Civil Rights Act of Title VII is that it doesn't say that you have to accommodate everyone's religion all the time, as no matter how hard it is or how crazy it is. It says you have to accommodate it if it's not an undue burden.
Right.
And this is an instance where it's so easy to accommodate her. It's frankly un-American to refuse to accommodate someone that you can easily do.
And my impression is, and I'm not an attorney, but my impression is that an employer looks at it and goes, any burden is too much. And that's kind of what happened here, right?
That's right. Yeah. CVS is trying to say that, well, if it's any kind of inconvenience is basically what they're saying, which we think is ridiculous. We can certainly come to a conclusion here where people of faith can be nurse practitioners, and when you only have 5 people a year coming and asking for contraception, we can work this out.
The case is moving ahead. Give us the current status of it. Where is it? What are we asking? Where are we asking for it?
We're taking CVS to court, and we think that this issue, like what happened to Robyn, is outrageous. But the issue itself about whether you can be a religious person and practice in the healthcare field is so important and worth fighting for.
Now, one of the attorneys that's working with us on Robyn's case used to work at the EEOC, right? Tell me about her.
Yeah, Sharon Gustafson is an expert in this field. She's argued cases before the U.S. Supreme Court on employment discrimination.
Yeah.
And she worked at the EEOC as the general counsel, which is the top lawyer for the entire agency.
Which is a big deal.
Yeah, she's pretty great.
And she thinks Robyn's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. How does that play into this? What is her role in the case? How does she help out?
She's a consultant with us, so we collaborate and talk about these issues.
Yeah. This is a question for both of you as we wrap up. What would be the best outcome for this case? What would be the best way for this to play out so that it's right again?
It would be, in my opinion, right if CVS realized that they can hire people that are Christians and respect their religion, but not just Christians, anyone of faith. Mm-hmm. They have in the past demonstrated that they can accommodate us, and I would ask them to continue what they have done.
Yeah. Christine?
Yeah, I think that this issue needs to be enshrined in law. We need the laws of our country to make it very clear that if it's not an undue burden, if it's not this onerous issue, that you don't need to fire religious people because you don't like their pro-life beliefs, you don't like their religious beliefs. And this is where the battle is right now culturally in our nation. There's so many nurses and doctors out there. Robyn's not the only one. Not even at CVS, I don't think, but even just widespread across many industries in the medical field. It's an ongoing problem.
Robyn, I'll let you have the final word. As someone who's living through this, what's your advice for other people in the healthcare field who may be facing a similar situation? What's your encouragement for them?
Anytime you have a choice between violating your conscience and not, I would always say, support your conscience. Do what you know to be right, and then trust that God's going to walk you through this and supply you, in my case, with people to help you. You do need a support staff, but you have to do what you know is right.
Very good. Christine, anything else before I let you go?
I'm just glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to taking CVS to task for this.
All right. Robyn, we're proud of you, and we're with you, and we're cheering for you. I want you to know that.
Thank
the
you,
entire
Stuart.
organization is behind you. We've been praying for you, and our attorneys are doing what they do, which is very impressive. First Liberty offers first-class legal protection for Robyn and for people just like Robyn all across the country, and we do it for free. Robyn will never get a bill from us. That's part of what we do as a nonprofit law firm that exclusively does religious freedom cases. We're only able to do that because of people like you who care about these issues. And if this resonates with you, would you consider supporting the work of First Liberty? Just look for the big red give button at the top of the page. It's a simple and quick process, and you can be part of the victories that are in the future because we're all working together. Thank you in advance from all of us, and we will see you next time right here on First Liberty Live.